Yes, Pawan.
I just want to say two words. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
A question from my side for Paul.
Yeah.
Over here. Ulas,
Yeah,
this
please,
side.
please.
To your right, Paul. That's me over here.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
here
hi.
we are.
Hi, how are
Okay,
you?
Thank you.
Paul, this was a very impressive and absolutely fascinating work you are doing. And really, I'm very much impressed. I had the agri-business, so you can understand my excitement about what you just said. And clearly, what you said makes a lot of sense, and is very much in line with our vision of farm tech prosperity. But coming to the question, we see a lot of wastage happening, Paul, in terms of the post-harvest, especially in India, because of lack of storage facilities, the cold chain. So have you done some work in that? Do you have some thoughts on how we can have low-cost storage solutions for farmers, in addition to what you said?
I want to make sure I understand the question. You're talking about low-cost storage or low-cost
Low-cost cold storage.
Cold storage.
cold storage? Well, let me say a little bit about cold storage as it applies to the village. Farmers in Nigeria bring their lettuce and vegetables to market, but the market is very hot and many of the vegetables like lettuce wilts. A creative entrepreneur in Nigeria developed a pot-in-pot method. It basically uses a traditional form of pottery that's very porous, and it takes a smaller pot, puts it inside a larger pot, and puts some sand that is wet in between. With the cooling from the evaporation of that sand, of the water in that sand, lettuce will wilt. It takes 8 hours for lettuce to wilt instead of 2. That makes a profound impact. He's sold quite a large number of those systems. They cost $5 to $10. They start at $5 to $10. I think that there are a number of things for people growing vegetables that can help them cool the vegetables on the way to market, but that are not expensive. For instance, you can dig a pit in the ground and put the vegetables in a safe container in that pit. You can develop collection systems that, simple systems before you get to refrigeration that take something like a metal box, cover it with bag material, and drip irrigate the bag material while you're pulling it on a bicycle to get it to refrigerated. You see what I mean? There are many, many opportunities for things like this. It just hasn't been worked on very much. In addition, there are a host of opportunities for post-harvest processing that are profoundly positive for rising poor small farmers. For example, the whole line of essential oil products. India is the biggest producer of lemongrass. Lemongrass deteriorates very quickly and it's quite bulky. If you designed a $1,500 fairly efficient steam distillation system that could be applied close to the farm, it would have profound positive effects on the income of small farmers. Does that give you an idea of the kind of opportunities that exist?
Yes. Oh, yes, Paul. And I think I'm going to meet you after this and be in touch with you because you have very good ideas and we really require those ideas to help our farmers in India. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Yes, please.
Yeah. My question is, most of the time we try to do something like this. Listening to the customer, capturing the voice of the customer is the most difficult part of it. So we go there with some preconceived notions and a questionnaire, if you will, and try to fit in what he is saying to our questionnaire. How do you normally start the process of understanding the needs around solar, around energy, any of these?
Okay, I think that's a very clear question, and it's a very good one. Thank you. You have done some work, for instance, in housing. If you're going to do housing in slums, improved housing in slums, the first thing is to go to the slums, talk to the people, look at their current housing, ask them what they're willing and able to pay for and what they need. Here's my approach. It's very basic. I go to a village, and I never go without a trusted, respected person from that local culture as my introducer. I'll spend a week in a village, a little bit less than a week. I'll start with one fairly typical family in that village, and I'll spend 7 hours with that family. First, it's important to make friends, to establish a relationship. I have a crazy sense of humor. Sometimes people don't understand me, cross-culture, but anyway, I make a connection. In the course of that 7 hours, I ask everything about their lives, depending on when they're comfortable enough to share. I ask them what they ate for breakfast. I ask them how far their kids went to school and why. I ask them what they feed their dog, if they have a dog. I ask them when they're comfortable about all of their sources of income, not just from farming, but from off-farm labor or anything else that they do. I ask them how they spend their money, so I have a really in-depth understanding of that family. Then I interview another 7 families in that village for an hour or 2. At the end of that period, which takes a few days, I have never yet spent a few days doing this in a village without coming up with at least one transformative technology or business that could reach a large number of people. So that's the basic approach, but it takes going there and listening and not having preset conditions. I went to some villages in the central hills of Vietnam once. This is an example. This is a group of tribal people, had no written language. I went there to see if we could market drip irrigation systems that could help them grow black pepper, oranges, and some other high-value crops. When I was talking to them, we met in the house of a chief with several village families. I asked them what was going on. The women said that they were devastated. They had invested loans that they got from the government in raising pigs, and most of the pigs died, and they couldn't pay back the loan, and they were full of shame. So I asked them why the pigs died, and they didn't know. So on the spot, I put up $150 to bring a vet from Hanoi. Turns out that pigs had pig cholera, and nobody wanted to talk about it because that would be bad for business. But more than that, what normally happened is that these tribal people grew pigs that were delivered from the plains. The farmers who produced pigs put a piglet on a bike, on a motorbike, sent it up to the village, but they usually sold the runt of the litter or a pig that was diseased anyway. IDE ended up creating a pig rearing operation in the hills, which has become very lucrative. And now suckling pigs are being sold from these tribal villages to customers in the plains. I didn't expect that. It simply was a big problem, and so we dealt with it. You see what I mean? The most important thing is to not go with preset things and to really listen. Does that give you an idea?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
May I?
Hemant? Sorry.
Paul, you passed my bullshit smell test within your first few sentences that you uttered.
I'm glad to hear that.
But since you have been evangelizing about this whole process for some time, are you satisfied with the way with which other Mahindras in the world have adopted this? And if not, what do you think is holding them back? And if you are satisfied, tell us. If you're not satisfied, tell us why.
Excellent question. I am not at all satisfied, but in fairness, I've only been, the biggest problem in development today is achieving scale. 20 million farmers that we helped is a drop in the bucket. It's a nice achievement. People say congratulations, but it's a drop in the bucket compared with 2.6 billion. I think the only way to reach 2.6 billion is by releasing market forces, and big business has to take a leadership role in doing it. I have now begun to talk with several corporations, and I'm amazed at the level of interest. But this is a field in its infancy, and not much has been done. And the reason is that conventionally, multinational corporations don't believe you can make a profit from serving poor customers. In my view, corporate social responsibility is, for the most part, cosmetic and done for good PR, although there are some exceptions. I don't think most big businesses have a clue about how to design radically affordable products that can meet the needs of these customers. It really, so often what corporations try to do is make cosmetic changes to their current product line and try to sell it to poor people, and that doesn't work. You have to generate a revolution in how you design, price, market, and distribute your products. I think that's too big a challenge for most corporations. So this is at its early stage. I am going to spend the rest of my life developing large international businesses for profit. And I believe that corporations will come in when we can demonstrate attractive profitability doing this. So that's what I'm working on. I'm not satisfied, but in fairness, this is very early, and I'm amazed at the level of interest on the part of organizations like Procter & Gamble, Cummins Engine, because many of these businesses are seeing, Procter & Gamble is trying to increase the percentage of their customers in emerging markets. Unilever is ahead of them. Cummins already, their market for engines is comparatively flat. This is published data in the US. They have a negative growth rate in the US. Their growth rate in China, India, and Brazil is something like 70%. Their profit picture in the US is less than 5%. Their bottom line profits in India and China are 12%. This is clearly pointing the direction, but big diesel engines don't sell to the bottom of the pyramid. I believe that the next generation of, this is a virgin area, and it's waiting to be, virgin markets are waiting to be created, and I think they can be profitable at scale. But I'm not satisfied. That's the short answer to your question.
One question.
May I? Yeah, please.
Yeah.
One of the projects that the group is working on, Paul, to your left, way behind.
Oh, okay.
Right, last bench actually.
Thank you.
One of the projects the group is working on is in a group of 32 villages to bring holistic development to the villagers who stay there. From making water available to improving agriculture to health, education, and hygiene. Now, how could we take some of the things that you've presented today, which are obviously effective, to that area and try our hands at it so that, if possible, we can make a business out of it? And if you were to choose to visit that area, the honor would be all ours, because I'm sure you'll give us some lovely ideas on what else we could do there.
Thank you. That's a very interesting question. I'll answer that with a question back to you. Is your basic approach a charitable approach where you give things to these people? Or are you trying to establish scalable needs that can be met profitably by delivering products and services to them as customers?
The second.
Then I think that the opportunities are endless, but you have to, I would have to go there and learn more about what you're doing to give you an idea of what I think about it.
Wonderful. I'd be happy to share the work with you.
I come to India 4 times a year working on this water project, and as you can imagine, I'm a little bit overcommitted. I'm still putting in 80 hours a week, and that is no problem because I'm blessed with a lot of energy, but I have some limitations on my time. But if I can squeeze it in somehow, I'd be glad to help.
Yeah,
Paul.
please.
Here. Yeah. The question is, you talked about sustainability. Many of the things you have been doing have been amazing. Now, how do you then follow through, in the sense, after 5 years, after 3 years, whether they are working and these people, life has been lifted up, the point which you made. So how do you make it sustainable? What mechanism do you have to measure them later?
Well, first of all, if it's going to be sustainable, it has to be profitable. You have in India hundreds of thousands of hand pumps installed in villages, which nobody owns but the government or UNICEF or some organization. They have a 50 to 70% breakdown rate. Treadle pumps, if you visit them 2 years later, have a 93% operating rate. It's because they are used to form income and because they're owned by people. We always use independent impact assessment. So with the water project as an example, I'm astonished with a profusion of water projects in India that nobody is measuring the level of pathogen infestation of water that people are drinking. We start with that. We do water melas in the village. People are very interested in having us test their water. We test it for E. coli. We do random tests in the house of people's water to see if it's safe, because 60% of the contamination is between a pure source and the actual household. We do tests for chlorine residual half an hour after we treat the water in the tank. I'm not sure how to explain it, but you have to have objective measures, but you have to apply radical affordability. The E. coli test that we did for the beta test came from imported. We imported the material, the agar media, and the Petri dishes. It costs $7 a test. That's not affordable. So we have brought that down to 50 cents. Now we can do those tests as a marketing strategy because it generates customers. Because when a woman and a man, there's a difference between talking theoretically and bringing a sample of your water and seeing these colonies. You're supposed to have less than 2. And many of these sources are just pink with hundreds of E. coli colonies. That's much more personal, but that's also a way of evaluating. When we sell treadle pumps, we do independent surveys of sales. We give guarantee cards. I heard part of the talk before mine. Quality is very important, so we give guarantee cards. So we have an address for everybody with a treadle pump, and if it doesn't work, we'll send somebody out to fix it. So it's really important to understand and to follow up and to measure. So we have we, for instance, contracted for an independent socioeconomic impact study of the treadle pump carried out by IMI, the International Irrigation Organization. And they are the ones that said that my estimates of a farmer buying a treadle pump for $25 and earning $100 a year net from it were conservative. So this can be built in and it doesn't have to be terribly expensive.
Paul, a question here.
Okay, we're running out of time, so maybe you'll have an opportunity to talk to him after the, in the breaks or something.
We can only take 500 more questions.
Okay, so Paul, thank you very much for this inspiring speech, and we have a small token of our appreciation.
Thank you very much.